Mm-hmm.
It goes away. So it's the same thing with singing, because you're using that muscle. So if you stop.
Hi, I am currently interviewing Arlette Beauchamps. I probably just killed her last name right now. She owns a music studio, Arlette's music studio in Las Vegas, and she's actually a voice teacher or coach. How do you want to call yourself?
It's actually a voice teacher.
Voice teacher, okay.
Yep.
So the reason I do these interviews is because I started these interviews in February, and basically is to help businesses get more customers. And Arlette, I've actually known her for 20 years or longer or something like that. It's been a very long time, and she's right now moved to Las Vegas, and we haven't talked in a very, very long time. So pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
So tell me about your music studio.
Okay. Well, I have a music studio that I've had for probably about as long as I've known you, for about 20 years. I can't believe it's already been 20 years, but that's about right.
Wow.
And yeah, and I started that business while I was still taking actually voice lessons, but there were other people who kept hearing me sing, and then they would say, "Are you teaching?" And I was like, "No, I'm not really teaching." And so, of course, you just start with one student, and then one turns into two, into three, and four. And at that time, I was teaching where I had a dance scholarship at West Side Dance Project in New York City. And right after, you're doing all these dance classes, and then there was a music studio attached to that dance studio. And so I would finish ballet, and then I would go over and take voice lessons. And then obviously that moved over into me teaching there. And then I just kind of moved into having my own studio and teaching kids in a lot of different places. I was teaching in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. And that was something. It was a lot of travel. That was pre-COVID, of course. So it was a lot of traveling back and forth. I would travel over to Pennsylvania, over to New Jersey, to New York City, and teach as many kids as I could and come home. And so it was a lot, but I learned a lot. I'm telling you, Benson, one of the reasons that I started teaching is because my bass player told me that if you teach, you will learn more about your craft than anything else you could do.
Wow.
Even performing.
Okay.
Yeah, he told me that. And it was true, because you're helping others to sing, and you're seeing the problems that they have that you might also have. And so that's when teaching is when my voice became even better and better and better as well. So, and now I just really like teaching. I like it. I like it a lot.
Wow.
So that's kind of.
So what kind of students actually come to you for teaching?
I get a lot of people because of my bio. Okay, I have a bio online that says the different things that I feel that I can teach. Okay. Right? Well, you can always teach voice, because teaching voice is teaching voice. It's not about a style. It's about technique.
Okay.
And then you have people who really want to sing pop, or they really want to sing opera, or they really want to sing Broadway, right? So most people come to me because on my bio, I've mentioned that I've sung opera professionally. I've sung pop and, pop of the day professionally, and musical theater. So those are usually the people who come to me that want one of those three. Sometimes R&B as well, and gospel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of a lot, but yeah.
Which do you like working with more? Have you think about that?
Yeah, I had to think about that for a second, because I like everybody's voices, I really like that everybody comes with a different kind of voice. Like people come and they'll have a pop voice, definitely have a pop voice. or I'll have someone come and he definitely has an opera voice, you know? So I kind of like all of it because it sounds really great. But my passion, I think, lies the most in Broadway.
Oh.
I hate to say it really is. I just really love a good Broadway song.
Okay.
You know, because there's so many of them.
Huh. Are you able to take anyone who has a bad voice and change it into a good voice, or?
Yes, I am, because I have this thought that anybody can sing. And I've said this in several other interviews that, you know, a lot of people say, well, you know, Arlette, not everybody can sing, you know, the people are tone deaf and different things. But no, you can really overcome that. And it's not really tone deaf. It's that they're hearing, those people hear more than the average person hears. So when you play a tone, they don't just hear that one tone, they hear like 8 tones. And that's why they can't figure out which tone to sing. And people call them tone deaf. It's not true. So, but I will say that those people, it takes so much longer to teach them how to sing, because before you can do that, you have to teach them how to sing the note that you're playing instead of the 8 notes that they're hearing. So that's a time when people may not feel that they can sing well. So there are a whole bunch of things, but yes, you really can take just about anybody and help them to sing. I will say that with the exception of people who have, no, seriously, there's only one exception, and that's people who have lung issues.
Okay.
Like they have asthma. You and I were talking earlier about my developing allergies, that type of thing.
Yes.
Make it difficult for a person to get enough air in the lungs. To sing, you have to be able to get enough air in the lungs to be able to. And so if they're really, you know, asthmatic really badly, that's a combination that really doesn't work.
Oh, really? You've been doing it so long. What is your procedure when you're working with someone? Your practice when you're starting out with someone new?
Okay, so that's a good question because everyone's so different.
Okay.
So, you know, I have a list of stuff that I know that I have to do to get them to be able to sing well. But since everyone's so different, the first thing I have to do is kind of assess what kind of a voice does this person have?
Okay.
And also, what are their challenges? Because everybody has a different challenge. So the first thing I have to do is kind of assess that and say, okay, this person doesn't have this, doesn't have that, which is why I always ask them to sing for me, you know, so that I can kind of get, okay, so I see what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they surprise me, like they'll come in and I'll actually hear, like one guy, he came in to sing rock, but when I heard him sing, I could hear he had what it took to do opera.
Oh, really?
And I could hear it in his voice. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy. So I was like, will you trust me? And he said, yes. I said, okay, I'm going to teach you something that after I teach you, you'll be able to sing anything you ever wanted to sing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I pulled out opera. And he's like, and his wife sent him to me. And I think he said that she questioned him and said, why are you singing all this opera stuff? You want to sing rock, you know? And luckily he goes, I trust her. I trust that she's going to do the best thing for my voice. And now he can sing anything. Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Opera, he can sing Broadway, he can sing rock, he can sing. I mean, I just listen to him and go, wow.
Oh, wow.
But he, you know, I will say that you have to put the work in. I can only show you, you know, and, you know, if I gave him a lesson, he got it done by that next week. And so those are the types of students that I love. But there are different reasons that people come to me. And this is something I didn't get earlier on because I thought anyone who took voice wanted to do it professionally. I know that's crazy, but I did. I was like, okay, they're coming to me, you know, and my first students were people who were making it on Broadway. And so when I started doing, you know, kids and teenagers and different things, was like writing them, you've got to be able to do this and this, and I remember one parent came up to me and said, Arlette, lay off of her, or lay off of him, and I was like, what? And she goes, they're not doing this to be professionals at it. They're doing it for an extracurricular activity. It's like, oh, okay. I got that. So I had to learn how to put fun into my lesson, because sometimes, especially when you're talking about kids having to, not adults, they want to have a little bit of fun while they're, they may not ever want to sing professionally. So that's something that I had to learn. Yeah.
Interesting. Have you ever had a client that was horrible that you had to cancel?
Oh, I have had. I did have one who was very difficult. Okay, so let me explain what happened with that.
No names.
I'm not going to give names. But she was difficult only because she wanted her lessons to be a certain way. Like she would say, okay, so for example, I make everyone do their warm-ups in the mirror.
Okay.
Because they have to be able to see that their mouth and their head are doing certain things. Okay, the jaw's dropping enough, the mouth is in the right position, blah, 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 right? So she had some kind of phobia about the mirror and would have like a temper tantrum every time she had to go in. And I would say, okay, I would bring in the mirror and she would just like, no mirrors, I was like, oh my God, And I was like thinking to myself, how am I going to teach this if she can't see what she's doing? And so, and the last thing that kind of had me go, okay, this isn't going to work, is that she started saying, I want the lesson to go this way. I want this warm up. I want that warm up. It's like, and I had to finally just go, okay, obviously maybe you've had another teacher that you really liked. And so I'm going to release you so you can go back to that teacher, because, it doesn't make any sense to ask me to do the other teacher's, warm up or whatever, because warm ups are done specifically for things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So somebody else's warm up might not work for me. So anyway, yeah, I did. And I had to do that very gingerly.
How do you practice yourself to get yourself, I guess, prepared for each student? Do you have like a morning practice or?
Well, when I'm not battling my allergies, what I do is, and I tell my students this all the time, that I have to practice every day. Okay. If I'm not in a show, if I'm working and I'm in a show singing 2 hours a day, then I don't have to practice every day because I'm already singing, right? But one of the things that happens with singing is that we're singing diaphragmatically. That means we're using the diaphragm muscle to be able to sing.
Okay.
And if you know a muscle, right? Just think about a muscle. If you don't use it, what happens? It goes away.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It goes away. So it's the same thing with singing, because you're using that muscle. So if you stop doing those exercises every day, the muscle goes away and then you're not able to sing. So if I'm doing a show, I don't have to worry about the warm-ups and all that. But if not, I have to do it every day, or at least sing every day.
Okay. How long do you sing for? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or?
At least an hour.
Wow.
An hour. But if I'm preparing for a show, I'll try to sing for 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, because when you're doing that show, you're going to be singing for 2 hours. So your diaphragm has got to be big enough to be able to handle, singing for 2 hours. I'll tell you a funny story.
Yeah, please.
I have a friend, no names, but she's an opera singer. But she's an opera singer. And she got the lead role in an opera called, it's a Wagner opera. And Wagner's operas are like 4 or 5 hours. And she got the lead. And so I went to see her in that opera, and she was singing full out for like 4 hours.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God. So I went backstage and I went, are you okay? Let's call her Barbara. It's not her name. Barbara, are you okay? And she said, yeah. She was drinking some water. And I was like, my God, you've been singing like full out for like 4 hours. And she said, yeah, I think I can sing for probably another 2 hours before I'll get tired. So that's how big her diaphragm was.
Wow.
That she could sing that long.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so if you are going to, you're asking me, okay, so what do you do to be able to do a show? I would have to make sure that I could sing through a show for as long as the show is. You know, it's 2 hours, or if it's only an hour, then, you know, I got to make sure I'm singing that long. And I'm doing the songs. And so there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, you know, but since you like to sing, it's not so bad. When I'm preparing for them to take a lesson.
Yes. Do you practice beforehand?
No, I don't personally practice. I don't sing for my students while I'm doing a lesson for them. I try not to sing. Unless I'm just demonstrating something, you know, then I can do that. But no, I don't have to do that. It's just that I have to be, listen, this is what happens. And this is why I try to tell them that when that break comes, right? And you're like, okay, somebody wants you to do whatever. You don't have time to go, okay, in 2 months, I'll be ready to do that because I can build back up my diaphragm. And that's what's going on with the singing. It's like, so you've got to be like singing ready. And that means your diaphragm has to be pretty steady and big.
How has COVID actually changed your business? I guess that when you were in the beginning, you were actually going to people's houses. How has anything changed? Are you still working with people in person?
I started. This really has kind of morphed into something else. I started off with people coming into my studio. You're a little one in the background.
Yes.
Okay, so people have always really come into the studio for me, you know. Okay. So I would teach out of the studio. But when COVID hit, nobody wanted to come into the studio. And luckily for me.
Wait, so you actually do your voice coaching in the studio with all the equipment?
Before COVID.
Okay.
And then I would do it in the studio. So I would travel to a studio, and then all my students would travel to me.
Okay.
So, and then COVID hit. Now, the great thing is that whenever a student couldn't make it in and I had to do a makeup for them, I would do that makeup online most of the time. So I was doing things online way before COVID hit, which was great for me because when COVID hit, and I had my mothers and other students calling and going, Arlette, we really don't want to go in. Can we just do this online? Because we were already doing things online. And so I said, sure. So in just one day, we moved from doing everything in the studio. Are you muted? So in one day.
How's my daughter's voice?
What now?
How's my daughter's voice?
Oh my, she sounds amazing. I've never heard her sing, but
you want to sing for her? No, okay.
So anyway, so I went right from like doing it in the studio to like all of a sudden, boom, we were online, which was the best thing for me. I was like, thank you. Because I didn't have to travel to like 3 different states.
And you don't have to pay for you don't have to pay for the studio for the recording.
And I didn't have to pay for the studio.
That probably takes a big chunk of your income.
It did. It took a huge chunk. So immediately I was able to, you know, have a lot more money. Think of all the gas I saved. So it was really a good thing for me.
And you could pass that down to your students to help them.
Yeah, so it was really a win-win for everybody. And also they didn't have to spend money traveling, and the parents got more time, whatever, you know. But yeah, so it's great.
Wow. So how are you generating businesses now? Mostly
Yeah, that's
through
a good
referrals?
question. I was working with a place called Take Lessons.
Okay.
Um, and I started doing more with them once I moved. And then um, I really laid into Take Lessons to get more lessons from them.
Okay.
And while I got settled in, so I have not had a chance to do any advertising here in Vegas, to let people know that I'm here and they can come in studio. I mean, that's kind of my next thing that I get to do. But what's so great right now is that I really can service the whole world.
Wow.
It's like it opened up things in studio too in Vegas if I want, but I really love doing them online. I really do.
So where most of your clients, any business, business like corporations, businesses?
No, I don't. Usually a corporation or business would hire me to do something like vocal training for like
Okay.
speech training or something like that.
Okay.
So there's someone, or maybe stage fright classes or something, which is not a bad idea to get into actually, because they would need that in case somebody, but usually Toastmasters will do something like that,
Yeah,
right?
not a lot of people. Toastmasters is great, but not a lot of people want to spend years learning Toastmasters just to practice. So you might have that as a niche to get into.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I might look into that.
Well,
No.
in your client base, what is the farthest people? What is the farthest that you've actually worked with so far in your Zoom
Oh,
country?
did I do Australia? I think I did Australia. I did Germany.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, that was really great. You know, I had a couple of students who moved to Germany and still wanted to take classes, that type of thing, And I was already doing East Coast, West Coast,
Mm-hmm.
someone in Atlanta, someone in, of course, East Coast here, also Los Angeles, but just really all over. It's very nice.
Well, hope there's some Asian people watching this send you some business.
That would be great. That actually would be great because I spent some time in Japan, which I loved, and yeah, and I've had a few Japanese students too, so that was really great.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
so I'd love to.
Tell me, when you were in college, were you always into voice, or was this something that came about later on in your career?
That's a good question. You know what? I always, since I was around 6, I knew I wanted to sing, and definitely by 10, I knew that I wanted to do movie musicals. I knew that.
Okay.
And then I started around 14, I guess. I started singing in bands because at the time we were living in Germany, so we were touring all around like France, Germany, England, because it's right there. I mean, it's a couple of hours away. But once I did that, I kind of knew that I wanted to go into singing, but I ended up doing some other things. Like I ended up getting a degree in fashion design, and then I came back and got a degree in music. And so I kind of went all the way around the world, but eventually ended back up in singing, and then teaching. And then now I'm still working. I was working in jazz for a while, musical theater for a while. So, it's kind of, I think at one point when I came back from Japan, I decided I wasn't going to sing anymore. Kind of a weird thing. I was just like, I'm done with it. I'm just like, it was hard touring. It was just so difficult. And I was just really tired. And so I remember telling one of my jazz musicians, I said, okay, so you know what? I'm no longer singing, so I'm doing something else. And he looked at me and he said, you can't do that. I said, yes, I can. I'm not singing anymore. And he just smiled at me. He goes, come back and talk to me after about 5 years. And true to form, about 5 years later, I was like, I've got to sing. It's like, I got to get back in the business.
Wow.
So I say that to say that it's something, singing is something that are kind of like, it's part of your being. So it's not like it's like, oh, I'm doing a little hobby. No, it's part of your being. And people who sing really do need to sing. I mean, I can't imagine not doing it again. So there you have it. It's always going to be here in some form or shape,
Tell me the difference between how when you're working with a child versus a teenager or adult.
Oh, yeah. Well, if I have a child, the warm up is a little different because obviously they can't do anything too complicated, So I make the warm up very simple, like even more simple than the adult one is, and I make it kind of fun, kind of like it's just instead of just doing these boring vowel exercises, I might do one that's meow. I do that for the adults too, but definitely for the kids. Like meow, 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 or whatever, so that, and they really love that, right? So just got to make it kind of fun for them. And then I try to find songs that they really, really like. I'll find songs for them too, but after I can kind of figure out what they like. Like I have one child who really likes a lot of pop, but really good pop, like pop that requires a kind of a good voice to be able to sing. So I can look at her and go, okay, I'm going to give her this song or that song to do. And usually I'm pretty good at figuring out what they like, but the whole lesson has to be fun or they're not going to come back. They're just, they have to learn something, is true. But they've got to be like, yeah, I really like my voice lessons, this kind of thing. So that's the child. Now, when they get to be a teenager, let's say 14.
That's the rebellious age.
Yes. And that's the most difficult age for me to teach.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, it's such a difficult age because they're just rebellious and they're moody and they're, and it's just like, so with them, I have to kind of like go, okay, definitely tell me the songs you want to sing first so that I can see if they're the kinds of songs that will do anything to help the voice build. That's my main thing. It's like the song has to help the voice build. And so do the exercises. And so also with the exercises, they have to be in a way fun or they're not going to want to do it either. But the songs are the most important things for the teenagers. Like the babies, I can give them like anything Disney usually. I've only had one child who looks at me and said, I hate Disney. Like, how can you hate Disney? You're only 6. Yes, I do not want to do any Disney songs. So that was really challenging. But for the teenager, though, definitely they're not going to want to do those Disney songs. So I've got to find something else. And since they're in such a rebellious stage, sometimes the songs that they want to sing are like, we're not going to sing that song because it's just too negative or it's too, sometimes they're violent. And so I have to be the one to go, yeah, we're not going to sing that song. We'll have to sing something else that gives you that same feel, or it might have bad words in it or whatever. So that's kind of how I have to deal with the teenager. Then the adults are very hardworking and they're there, they can really concentrate and they do really well. I think the main thing for them is they have to see that what you're teaching is actually going to work. It's actually going to take them from A to Z, and they can see that that's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they can't see that, well, certainly won't stay or won't feel like they're going to get anything out of your lesson. So you got to show that to them pretty early on. And so I do. I show them this is where we're going. And then I can backtrack and tell them, now this is what we have to do in order to get there, you know?
Okay.
So it's very different what I have to do for each age.
You work with older people, like 50s, 60s? Or is that still all the same?
Yeah, you know, that's the age that I don't do the best with.
Okay.
The woman who I said that I had to tell her she had to go, she was in that age bracket.
Okay.
And I've had another woman in that age bracket. And I don't know if it's because they're very slow to change. There's something about change that they don't do well. And, you know, there's two ends of the spectrum, let me put it this way. Children below the age of like 9 or 10. I have some 6-year-olds, but listen, I had to approve of them because usually a 6-year-old isn't going to be able to do all the stuff you need to do in order to sing correctly.
Okay.
So you end up just being a babysitter for like an hour. Like, and I don't like that. So there's an age there where I'm like, no, wait until she's older, right?
Okay.
And then on the top end, it's like the people who are just, I hate to say that because you want to be able to teach anybody at any age, but I've noticed a pattern of people at that very older age not doing well with the lessons. Well, as well, because they're just so, I don't want to change. I've been, you know, they have to be able to do things like drop their jaw like longer, and they're just like, I don't want to do that. It's like, okay, but you know, in order to sing well, that's what you're gonna have to do. Yeah, but I'm not gonna do that. And they'll tell you that, you know. It's like, and you're thinking to yourself, well, what am I supposed to do as somebody who's not gonna do the lessons correctly because they're not going to learn anything. And that's exactly what happens. They're with you for year after year after year, and they haven't progressed. And then they're very frustrated, you know. I haven't progressed and nothing's happening. And you're just like, because you're doing your own program. You're not doing my program. It's like, but I only have one. So if I can get them like 470.
You gave me a new question to piggyback on. So there's a lot of these training courses online about developing your voices. Can someone actually learn online on a course and instead of actually having to pay for a tutor, a teacher? Because that, I mean, I'm sure it is expensive. Instead of going online, take a YouTube video and just practice.
Yeah, wouldn't that be perfect if you didn't have to hire the teacher? Yeah, no, it doesn't work because everybody's voice is a little different. So every time that someone comes in and does a class with me, I'm actually listening to what the next step is for them. It's like, okay, today we're gonna do this because you mastered this, but you didn't get this. So you need someone who's going to actually listen to what you're doing and then go, okay, now this is in order to build that voice so that you can sing by yourself. Yeah, it doesn't work with you just ordering a course and online. I mean, that sounds great. And boy, do I wish that were true because I could retire. I could build just this little, okay, sing along with this and pay me whatever, you know? No, I don't believe that it works. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe somebody did something that I don't know about. I don't know.
When you do your work versus in person versus Zoom, so how does actually the Zoom work when you're teaching someone?
Okay, so, well, no, you know what? It's a good question because, you know, I told you I want them in the mirror so that they can see what they're doing, right?
Yes.
So it works beautifully for that because the camera, like I'm looking at myself now, if I'm singing, you know, I can see so the camera acts as the mirror. So that's, and then I don't play while they're singing because of the lag. You know how there's a lag when you're,
yes,
you know, right? So I can't do that. But what I do is I will ask them to access their music online, like in karaoke tracks or piano tracks, so that they can play it where they are and they can sing along with it. And then I'll sit and I'll critique what they did, and I'll give them maybe just one thing to correct for that week, because you can't do everything, right? So as long as they're able to correct that one thing for that week, we can move on for the next week and then correct something else until they master that whole song.
So all this time, you must be taking a lot of notes on your students.
I used to, but I don't anymore because it was just too overwhelming. It's just like I had a million notes on what they had to do, but I don't do that anymore. I just listen, because if they come the next week and they're still making the same mistakes, it doesn't matter that I told them that last week. I have to tell them again. And go, okay, so we really need to do, and sometimes I do forget that I told them. They will tell me, yeah, you keep telling me that to happen. It's like, in order to get that great sound, right?
So you must, I guess you must be very, very, very patient.
I am, actually, when it comes to my students. I can be very patient. The only time that I'm not is that I can tell, like, they don't think I can tell that they're not practicing. They don't think I can tell. I can tell. If you didn't practice whatever I gave you from last week, I know you didn't practice it. It was something very simple, and you're still making the same mistakes over and over and over. So there was
but can you just practice and still be making the same mistakes over?
Not usually. I mean, not over and over and over and over again. That means you're not practicing. You're not practicing the warm up, or you're not practicing something, right? Because I'm giving you little teeny things to do. It's not like it's a huge thing to practice on. So if you come back and you haven't mastered that, then I know you're not practicing. And people who are practicing, they come back with it mastered each and every time. They really do. Yeah. So there's only one girl that I had to kind of tell her that she had to start practicing, or I couldn't keep teaching her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're that mean?
You know why? What? No,
I said, you're that mean?
I'm going to tell you why. Because this is what happened. You have the girl, and she's been with you for a year. And she still can't do anything because she's never practiced. And so you then have a parent going, she's been with you for a year. You have been teaching her to sing for a year, and she sounds horrible. That's what happened.
Okay.
So it falls back on. So and I usually tell them, listen, I can't keep wasting your parents' money. If you're not going to practice, you have to practice, right? So it's kind of I hate having to do that, but that does sound mean. But I think it's really just, sometimes I even tell them, maybe this is something that lights you up. Maybe that thing is soccer. And it's true, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a win-win, really, for me to just be like, because most kids who come to me, I'm telling you, their parents tell me, it's like, I can't shut her up, right? Those are the kids I love. Like, please, Miss Arlette, tell her she doesn't have to practice every day. Like, but she does need to practice every day. So those are usually the people who are lit up to sing. And then every once in a while, I get someone who's just not lit up to sing, and that's why they're not practicing, and no song inspires them. Usually I'll say maybe it's the song. And then after about a year, you go, this person isn't, that's a long time to give you. A year. Yeah. And sometimes it's just me, like maybe the parents don't care. Sometimes that happens. It's like, I just want her to do something, to keep her doing something productive.
Okay.
And we don't really care if she's learning anything. It's like, well, I care. It's like, okay.
I know we talked in the beginning, before we started the interview, that you have some allergy, and this is something called a Las Vegas allergy in your area. What are you doing to help can you give some advices to people who have allergies?
Yeah, it's so bad. Luckily, I've never had allergies before. I've had some students, and they had their routines that they had to do to be able to sing. Now, as long as it doesn't attack the lungs, you're pretty much, you can handle. And so luckily for me, my students came to my aid, said, Miss Arlette, do this, do this, do this, do that. And one of the things they told me to do was to get a air filter for the house.
Okay.
Which I did, because this is desert. It's very dusty. Air filter, get, drink plenty of water. Oh gosh, sorry.
Allergies. Before we got interrupted, how did you solve it? You told me about filters.
Yeah.
And water.
I had to get some air filters. I had to get some like allergy medication. I started doing acupuncture, which was really helpful. I got some herbs and some Chinese herbs, which are helping. You can still hear it in my voice, because every time you cough, it just takes out the voice. So luckily, I can do something about it. It's like, oh my gosh, I can tell my voice is going. But I just do the best that I can, so what else I can do? I do hate it, but I've been battling this for a couple of months, and I didn't know what it was. So that was the hardest part, that, I couldn't sing, I couldn't go out and sing. And everybody kept asking me, it's like, when are you going to be singing? So now that I know what it is, I can kind of, do things like this that can kind of bad.
Really, what's next for you? Are you going to be doing this for the rest of, where you want to take your business?
Yeah, so, it's a good question. I do want to do more here in Vegas,
okay.
Because there are a lot of performers in Vegas, right? So that's probably the next thing for me, is just to take my business and scale it up a bit. And also, I'm going to be doing some more albums myself, I think.
Okay.
Releasing some albums. I'm going to and I'm writing new songs. So that part is going to be exciting.
Wow.
So yeah, I've got new stuff happening on that horizon. And on, building the business. So I'm going to be pretty busy,
okay.
But that's okay. I actually like the work. And I'm hoping that I could do some stuff on the Strip, because I really like the Las Vegas Strip a lot. There are a lot of shows that are coming back, and, that would be nice too.
When you're around next time in Vegas, in the Strips, take some videos. I want to see them.
Oh, okay. I will. You'll love it. You'll love it. I mean, I really like it here. For that Las Vegas allergy thing, that'd be good. I'd be good to go.
I haven't been there. I haven't been to Vegas in a very long time, so I would love to come there.
And you have to come and visit, the whole family.
Thank you. Oh, other question. What would you say to someone who actually wants to become a voice teacher like you? What if this? I mean, how could they? What would you suggest for them?
Well, I would suggest that they, go get some training. Like having a degree in performance is really helpful, because you learn. Okay. Yeah, you have to go through all the stuff that you're going to be teaching. So I would say go get a degree in vocal performance, and then you'll be able to take all of that information and start teaching.
And how is the competition for voice teachers?
There are a lot of voice teachers. I don't know how you pull yourself out, out front by your reviews. How people have been able to take them from zero to really having a great voice. That goes a long way. But there are a lot of voice teachers. You just got to pull yourself out front somehow.
Like with any business, it takes work.
Like any business.
Can you give someone some exercises, or whoever's watching this video, some short exercises that they can do at home to practice?
One of the best exercises you can do is a very, very quick exercise that's called lip trills. And the lip trills really build the diaphragm. Remember, we were talking about the bigger the diaphragm, the bigger the voice, the bigger the agility. And it sounds like this. If you can do that, and maybe on a scale, like you can go to my YouTube channel and find some of those scales.
Okay.
And do any one of those scales on lip trill, and that will really start you off.
Repeat that slowly. What are we searching for on YouTube?
Okay, go on YouTube.
Okay.
And depending on what you are, like if you're a male, you're going to either be a tenor or a baritone.
Okay.
So you want to find the scales that say scales on 3 tenor or scales on 3 baritone. Or if you're a woman, it would be mezzo or soprano. Scales on 3 mezzo or scales on 3 soprano. And play that and do it with lip trills. If you can do lip trills. And if you can't, learn how to do them because you're going to need them.
Really? Okay. I'm going to try it right now.
Okay. Yes, try just doing this.
Very embarrassing.